So thanks for having us.
Thanks for having me. Great.
Introduce yourself. Like, tell us about your background. I guess your educational, any working background before, your business, and kind of introduce yourself and your business.
Sure. Well, I am Laura Clare Pugsley, owner of Laura Clare Floral Design and Event Decor, and now also the garden shop at Laura Clare. Okay, so my background. So I guess the easiest way to say it is I have a degree in horticulture, and I sort of kind of got into the floral part of it a little bit by default, but I think, hindsight, when you look at it, I was sort of always a gardener. That was my passion, that was my hobby, and I was lucky enough to just sort of kind of follow through and make it my passion and my career, and people pay me to do this fun stuff, so it's like life is good, right? But I mean, I guess that's the short and skinny of it. I don't know. I mean, I guess somebody asked me about my early memories of how I started, and it wasn't necessarily flowers. Again, it was gardening. And, I like to tell people the story of my grandfather was very old Pennsylvania Dutch kind of, stock, whatever. And when I first started my garden at, I don't know, age 8 or something like that, it was a little 5x5 square garden kind of thing. And he brought home manure in his trunk from Pennsylvania for me as like, hey, Laura, look at this good stuff. And I'm like, thanks, Grandpa, like, what is this? But, it spurred the whole, thought of, wow, a good garden, and then growing flowers and, I guess just thinking of all the influences that led me to this path. And my parents were both art teachers, and they say that, it's not hereditary, but I think it was just this appreciation of just really loving nature and everything around you. So my father and I would just walk in his backyard, which was all woods and stuff, and look at the lichen on the trees and the moss on the yard.
Yeah.
And we made gold out of it, so to say. Like, we made a golf course out of our backyard by sinking tuna cans in there and calling it the tuna tournament. But you know what I mean? It was like really just appreciating nature. And my uncle was this big sort of kind of horticulturist by hobby. He wasn't in it by trade. But he would have these exotic trees in upstate New York, and the ginkgo tree and stuff like that. And I would be like, oh my God, this is the craziest thing. And little garden paths and I don't know, so many influences. And then of course there's my mom, who killed every single plant that I had growing up. In fact, it was funny because I went off to horticulture, school, and I went to Cornell and everything, and learned all these things. And I would come home, and she goes, Laura, oh my God, did you know we had this blooming in the garden? And I'm like, yes, you killed that. Thank you. But fast forward on her, I know, side story here, but she ended up, after I left home and whatever, she just sort of kind of came back and said, guess what? I'm head of the garden club now. And I'm like, who are you? And what did you do with my mother? Because she killed all my plants, but now you're the garden club president? What is this? Anyway, so that's my mother. But, she still says things like, oh, that Amazonian petunia. I'm like, oh, New Guinea impatiens, Mom? And she's I'm sorry. Anyway, but so my love is horticulture and flowers. And then after my degree, I didn't really know floristry. So, I mean, to get back into that, I basically had a fellowship from school that I won. I didn't know what I was going to do after school. And I applied for this fellowship, and they said, okay, that sounds great. What do you want to do? And I'm like, I want to go learn floristry because I'm graduating from a good Ivy League college. I'm top of my class. I don't know what else to do. I never had the proper training, and it sounds crazy, but the past, what's his name? The one professor that was there passed away. And so I never, ever took a floristry, learning class. So I knew horticulture. I knew sticks, by Latin in the middle of winter as I would walk in the woods, and I could test on that. So the science side I had, and just internally I had that artistic side from my parents and just my whole background. So then how did I get it all together? Ended up going to Europe, and they said, well, just go wherever you want, write back and let us know what you did. And I'm like, really? And you're paying me to do this? This is crazy.
Oh my gosh.
So I did. So I went to the library, I researched, I started in London because I'm like, I speak English, they speak English. Let's start there. And I would go around, work with people, just intern. And I said, what do you think is the next best florist to work with? And they're like, oh, go to here. So I literally jumped from London to Amsterdam to Copenhagen to Paris and just interned my way around Europe.
Whoa.
And it was little did I know, some of the absolute best artists in the floral industry. So that like you have all this amazing training, and they take it very seriously over there. And it was like nothing like an American florist. You know, they're like production over here. Over there, it's really an art. And I came back, and I'm like, what do I do with myself? You know, I was sort of waiting for jobs to go back overseas and whatever. And I came down to New York. I had a friend who was living in the city. He's like, oh, you know, there's people down here in New York, you should try it. I'm like, okay. So within 2 weeks I came, I got a job, and because of my whole experience and background and who I knew and everything, ended up working in the industry. And it's like the whole event floral industry is amazing. So then I sort of kind of stuck around New York, and one thing led to another, and got sick of working for other people and opened up my own thing, and here I am. So I don't know. That's it.
What
Wow.
was like that turn of events for you? Like going from working for someone else to now like owning your own business, because that's like two very different ball games. Like one,
Yeah.
you know, you obviously have responsibility, but it's nothing compared to like owning a business and having to operate every aspect of it, whether it's
gosh.
customer service or scheduling, you know, your employees, and it's like a whole nother beast.
Absolutely. No, listen, I think when I started it, it was the freedom and the thought that I could make my own decisions and, you know, express myself artistically and whatnot. Little did I know all the hats I'd have to wear. I don't think it's a bad thing. You know, I sort of kind of look at it now, like they say you get your PhD in business when you own a business, because you go through everything and you're like, oh my God. It's been a wonderful experience. I've learned a lot. And I think every little downturn or mistake you make, you learn from. And if you don't, you should get out of business, kind of thing. Because there's just a lot. And it's great. And so, you know, yeah, I think you should just definitely learn from all those mistakes, and that's how you grow in the business. And I don't think I'd ever want to go back. Owning my own business is fun, and you guide it to whatever you want, right? So,
Yeah.
no, it's a good thing.
That's awesome. Can you tell us like a little bit about your store now, and kind of, I mean, I got to see firsthand, used to be a former employee, and
Yes, you.
yeah, and yeah, it looks a lot different. I mean, I remember like the last store you were doing a little more retail flowers as well. Now you have the plant shop. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, so the concept has always been a little bit of both. You know, we obviously, our forte is events and flowers, but we've always dabbled in retail, because I think everybody should be able to take a little something home, and
Yeah.
a little piece of art, right? And again, my background's in horticulture, so I love plants. I love everything to do with this whole industry. And when we had to move from Bernardsville, we found our place in Far Hills, and ended up being the two different buildings right next to each other. And because the retail, it still exists. So it's not that it's not there. I think it's just more people always tend to order online, or they call instead. But there are other people that still want to come in. And I was like, well, let's give them something to look at. And we got the garden shop, and just kapow, you know, I mean, it's everything that I want. And then if you don't want plants and stuff, we certainly have, you know, the high-end flowers, or, you know, I try to be different than the ShopRites and all the other things that, listen, I love the fact that these other places have flowers everywhere. I mean, it really revolutionized everything. Like, everybody goes shopping now and is like, oh, yeah, I should bring home some flowers. You absolutely should. Doesn't mean you have to buy our flowers every week, but I love that it's out there, sort of like it was in Europe when I was there 30 years ago, you know, and the fact that it should be part of your life. And it's just a reminder to really appreciate every day, you know?
Yeah. I want to go back for a second. When you started your business, did you immediately get into events, or were you mainly focused on like the floral side of it and just starting a flower shop? Or
oh my goodness,
how did that evolve?
I threw everything to the wind, and mind you, it was, I think, myself and a driver, and that was, yeah, I mean, at that point I could handle a lot, because I know I could do the retail stuff, and on the weekends I was probably closing the store down and going to do an event. And one thing led to another, and I sort of always felt like, well, let's just see what takes. Well, both took. And so therein, you know, I started to hire some employees and train them and whatever. It exists both still,
Yeah.
but I think I didn't know what was going to do better. And I think it really just sort of kind of depends on location, because when I first opened in Mendham, it was a sleepy little town, and, you know, it took a little bit to get going, especially events wise. And then when I moved to Bernardsville, it was more retail, really more retail. But then it was more exposure. So then it was like, oh, well, you did my niece's corsage, but I got somebody else who's getting married in my family. Can you do that? And I'm like, yes, I can. So, we grew in both directions. Yeah.
And was it like a lot of word of mouth, or were there other kind of marketing channels that you had to utilize to grow that?
Yeah, I really think word of mouth was the best, because I feel it definitely had authentic feelings of what people saw and felt and got out of my business. So marketing is, sometimes I say it's like the trifecta. Like I still had to do marketing, especially on like bridal websites and whatnot. But that, and then like the third component is coming in and actually meeting us and talking to us. And I'm like, okay, I'm now going for the kill. 'Cause, like you heard about me, your aunt said, yeah, it was great. And then, you felt good with us. So yeah, I did some marketing, but certainly only as much as I could, because when you start a business, you can only afford so much. You don't want to waste it all on just advertising, but it's like in times of need, when you really need the advertising, that's when you should be spending on it. And I do agree on that. But, I had to just balance it, everything in moderation.
Yeah.
So
I'm also very curious about like the design process, like what goes into it, because I'm sure you're balancing so many different brides and venues and having to transform spaces. Like that takes a lot of mental power and creativity.
It does. Thank you for noticing that.
I can't even imagine. It seems like a lot. What goes into like a consult with a bride or just working with a venue? Like kind of give us that like back end stuff.
Yeah, well, we're sort of floral profilers. In fact, somebody gave me a compliment once that we were floral whisperers, and I'm like, that's fabulous. I like that one. It's a marketing term. But really, you just have to listen to people. And like as a creative or whatever, I mean, people know that you have to listen to your customers. Obviously, you're your own designer and you force things on. But for me, the process goes when you come in, you sit down, and I'm like, tell me about what you're looking for. What's the ambiance you want to create, especially if it's a wedding, right? Even if it's a small, just one-time arrangement. It's like something for your mother or somebody who passed away. There's feeling that you want to convey. The method is just, like I'm making this thing out of a botanical something to express your feelings.
Yeah.
So I feel you just have to really listen. I listen to them. I sort of I know what's in season. I know the process, coordinating the venues and the logistics. Like that's my training.
Yeah.
But I think being an artist is combining what I know botanically, in season, everything, and combining it to what you want to convey. So like there's certain flowers that'll be very harsh and sophisticated and striking, and others they're like really, demure, and I just want like a really soft, sweet thing. I'm like, oh, so some wildflowers or something softer. But knowing that some brides don't even know what they want. They come in and I'm just let them talk.
Yeah.
Or show me your Pinterest page.
I was going to say, do they show you like a picture or something from Pinterest that they're like, I want this?
Sometimes they don't have any clue. And actually those are my favorite because like I know what I can give them, but I want to see what their personality's like. What do they love? What do they want to say with their event? I mean, I don't know. That's the fun part.
That is really fun. I love that.
Yeah. Do you usually know the venue before like people book this stuff? Because like sometimes I guess that could play a role in like what you
hopefully I know the venue and it's almost been like, do I have a trial run knowing how to get in and how to get out, or set up Jonathan, but it's handy. But I'll say after so many years in business, it's fun not having known the venue, because then it's like it's exciting. It's a new place. Like, oh, what other view or cool thing can I do or decorate or something like that?
Yeah.
Oh, so I gotta keep it fresh a little bit.
What's like? I mean, I think as a business owner, at some point along the way, you've done every single part of your business because you have to. Especially in the beginning. What's kind of been your favorite part of running the business throughout? I guess maybe today and throughout the whole journey.
Really, it's the design. I think I really love meeting new people and sitting down with them, again, finding out what do they want? What are they trying to express? And profiling it, because I think over all these years I've become a good profiler, a floral whisperer, and I love that. And then being able to sit to match it, and they're like, "Wow, I didn't even know I could describe what you just gave me." And I was like, "Okay, great, I'm glad you like that." I get great enjoyment out of that. But I'll tell you, I mean, there's satisfaction in sweeping a floor. There's satisfaction in making just one arrangement. I really enjoy my whole business. Okay, maybe not paying taxes and doing the paperwork, but that aside, I mean, you got to do it in order to keep the business going. And I think it's just, it's the whole shebang. And I really do. When I get everybody involved at some point, they sort of kind of go up through the ranks. And I think they appreciate everything. We appreciate the fact that somebody washed the buckets and it's clean now for us to use for our beautiful flowers. And, everybody's job is important.
Yeah.
So, no.
Do you see any trends happening right now with flowers that maybe you like or dislike, or like what are you loving right now? Like if you could have a wedding tomorrow, like what would you do?
Yeah. Oh gosh. Well, there's a lot of trends going on. What I find that I appreciate the most right now is that people are appreciating the details. I think that arrangements are not necessarily overstuffed and just like show off lots of it. I think there's like you finding the beauty in that dahlia that was grown locally and is like that most amazing color that I wanted. And it doesn't have to be a lot of it, but like such is life. Like maybe these weddings aren't 250 people, but 30 people of your closest friends in the most fabulous little dinner party setting.
Yeah.
And so again, I think finally, maybe after COVID, we got our butts kicked that we're appreciating the details and living in the moment a little bit. And I feel that's conveyed into my industry. And of course, I always love the color. I mean, listen, I'm a good monochromatic kind of girl, but I do love color and just different color palettes together. So, not just doing white and green flowers all the time. I know.
It's crazy how much like an arrangement of flowers can change the whole vibe of a room.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, like how some like colors are darker and they kind of pull in like different emotion, and the like more whimsical, like light flowers, like it really changes like the whole atmosphere.
Absolutely. And I think, and that's why the business even evolved into like the event decor. So I love the flowers, but literally you could have just a single black calla lily in vases, but then bringing in a fabulous table runner or maybe black napkins or black taper candles, but like creating the ambiance around almost that one flower, that one thought, that one mood is so fun, and how you can transform it. And it doesn't have to be over the top.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly it can be, and that's cool too, but I think the details, again, like, wow, I never would have thought that you could have done that, and that's cool.
That is really cool.
Are there any like misconceptions about the floral industry in general? Maybe like misconceptions from the inside or even just from an outsider looking in?
Yeah, probably. Let's see. I would think, it's definitely a very hard working industry. People don't realize what they have to put into it. Say, like, for example, the end of the night when there's a breakdown crew. That you're getting everything you pay for. I think in the end, a lot of people, when they look at the proposal and what they pay, I'm a very honest person, and they're like, wow, why was that so expensive? And then at the end of the night, they're like, oh my God, I probably should have paid you more, because no, but the attention to detail, making sure like you pack up the candles at the end of the night and you sweep up the floor, or you take down the stuff you put on their chandeliers that you brought that 12-foot ladder and did. So I guess it's sort of like that underappreciated industry, just as much well-deserved and paid for as even a pharma industry that somebody did research to make sure that drug doesn't kill you. So, I mean, it sounds crazy, but I think it's that. And I also, I think one of my favorite things is that, listen, everybody's got crazy people in their industry, but I think there are certain times that we stand back and we're like, wow, like this bride was more concerned than she needed to be about the details. Like, it's almost a psychology degree. And you realize that people have to you have to appreciate the moment. You have to learn what these flowers are telling you, that like, stop and smell the roses, that don't get so upset over that. Like, there's always something that goes different at your wedding, not wrong at your wedding,
Yeah.
but there's always something that goes different.
Mm-hmm.
And teaching you about life. And I think that there are times that all of us sit back and we're like, I can't believe that girl just got so upset over something. And,
Yeah.
and it's out of our control. It's out of her control.
Mm-hmm.
And so misconception, I think, is that you just have to roll with it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's super important. And I think that's like a lot of people really get like stressed out on their wedding day, and I think
But it's not
sometimes
even the wedding day. It could be anything in life.
yeah,
You know?
that's true. That's true.
I forget who said it to us recently, but I guess in this industry, if you're working like in weddings, you get to be a part of someone's best day of their life every day.
Yeah.
So it's like such a usually very positive and like celebratory atmosphere, and I'm sure that also is very uplifting for you, like getting to see like
Absolutely.
start to finish, and then just what you did for someone. Like it's a
Oh my
service
gosh.
industry, and
Yeah. There are
it's
times when,
beautiful.
you know, we're doing the setup for the ceremony and we have to stand back because we're going to break it down right after. So you get first eye glimpse and you're watching
Yeah.
this couple say their vows and the meaning stories, or, you know, oh my gosh. And you feel so connected to these people. And then like, you don't see them after that because, you know, the wedding's done. You're like, I'm going to miss you, you know? But it's very emotional. You ride the roller coaster with these people.
Yeah.
And you are part of their lives too. It's rewarding in that respect, for sure.
We do have some rapid fire questions for you that we didn't send you.
Okay.
I think all of them are fun
Yeah.
for the most part.
For the most part, yeah.
All right.
What's one fact about you that someone who doesn't know you would be surprised to know?
That's really interesting. Oh my gosh. Now you're hitting me off guard here. What's a fun fact about me? I don't know. I guess I read children's books. I think I told you this. For, you know, I read audiobooks for people.
Wow.
I was a harpist. I was in the wedding industry well before I was a
Wow.
florist.
Wow.
I don't know. I can wiggle my ears, but I won't do it on camera. I don't know.
I'll do mine for you.
Can you do it? Oh, yeah. I don't know. Random facts. I can't even think of other
Where did you
That's
pick up
really
playing the harp?
cool.
Oh, gosh. It was in high school.
Really?
Yeah, no, I'm sure my mother was like, oh, here's a flute. Why don't you try that? But no, I chose the harp, and I had to get a hatchback car to schlep it around to concerts. Oh, yeah. No, actually, you know, precursor, I think it's like, that was pre-warning, like, what I was going to do for the rest of my life is schlep big, heavy, fragile
It was really
things.
prepping you.
Yes.
You
it
replaced the harp with the huppah, I guess.
worked. And fresh flowers, I think I crushed.
What's your favorite wedding venue in New Jersey? And if you don't want to pick a favorite, you could just
Name a few.
name a few that come to mind that you like.
Oh, yeah. I'll name a few because I love so many for different reasons.
Yeah.
But I think I love Hamilton Farms. I love the ride into the mansion. I love places that have history. I love the mansion at Nadarar, but I also love like Botello's in Jersey City. I love the view there, and I mean, there's a bunch of places in New York that I've worked too, like the University Club or 620 Loft, which overlooks, and you can see St. Patrick's Cathedral right there.
Oh,
and,
wow.
you know, so many different things for so many different reasons, but I don't know. There's a lot of venues.
Yeah. If you could only use one flower for the rest of your career, which one would it be?
Oh, that's so unjust. One flower. Not even like per season. I could. Oh,
Yeah, you could do it per season
per
if you want.
season. Well, okay. So the peonies, I know. I'm a sucker for coral charm peonies. You know, gotta love that. Fritillaria is probably my drop dead favorite.
Yeah.
If I had to. So there you go.
I'm going to be Googling those later.
Oh my gosh, the checkerboard fritillaria, you should see it. It's like perfect checkerboard pattern that Mother
my
Nature
gosh.
put on this tiny little flower. It is so amazing.
Oh my gosh.
Google it. You'll love it.
I will.
I love it.
What is something you can't leave the house without?
Coffee. Actually, no, it's usually on my way to Starbucks. What can I like? Oh gosh. I usually have like everything in my car. I'm sort of like, I grew up outside of Buffalo, right? So I think that my background is I always have preparedness in my car in the sense that I have everything in my car, and the girls laugh at me. They're like, "Do you have this in your car?" I'm like, "I'm sure I do." So I've got scissors, trowels, buckets, shovels, everything. So leaving the house with, I have everything. I have everything. That's the answer.
Give us a piece of advice for someone on their wedding day.
Yeah, enjoy the moment. I think reflecting back on the fact that something always goes a little different than you expect it to. And I think, again, just like you have to stop and smell the roses and it teaches you about life, like you have to roll with the punches, and such is life. That if you will be thrown curveballs, and you have to learn to deal with it and love it and embrace it. It's what we call life.
When you aren't designing, what are you doing in your free time?
Oh, I am a mom taxi currently. I have 2 teenagers that are not yet at their driver's license, so I am driving people around to fencing, to cross country, to lacrosse, to field hockey. No, what am I also doing? We have a vacation home up in the Poconos, so we we take time to go up there, or I'm gardening, or chilling. I don't know, watching movies in the basement and not thinking about weddings.
If you could pick up and move your business anywhere, where would you go?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Could be even out of the country if you want.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, I mean, if it was, it would have to be location, location, location. So in a good place that I could have work, but I would love to go live like somewhere in Scotland where it's like luscious and green and, oh my gosh, something like that. But I don't know if there's that many big weddings like I do here there.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe some castle. I could just pick up residence and be their in-house floral designer, right?
What's your favorite type of cuisine?
Probably Thai food.
Ooh.
Spicy Thai food for sure.
So good.
Yeah.
What's something that you want to accomplish in the next 5 years?
Continuing the balance of life and work.
Mm-hmm.
Getting my kids into college. That's the next 5 years probably. But I think, that's always been a goal because it's a constant struggle as a business owner to balance it. But I think I love to tell people that you have to know that this is your career. I mean, it's always going to be a little bit of work, but you want to have a life.
Yeah.
And I'm finding myself telling my kids this too, that like invest when you're young and whatever, and then do what you love, because nothing is worse than having a job that you don't love. And we all have to do something. So let's just be smart about it, and everything in moderation. So continuing that as best I can for the next 5 years would be great.
Awesome. I think that was all of them, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Well, tell everyone where they can find you. Where are you located? Instagram, website, any information that you want to give?
Yeah, so Laura Clare Design essentially is the one thing to know. So it's lauraclaredesign.com. On Instagram, it's Laura Clare Design. I think Facebook, I have a couple, but Laura Clare Floral Design and Event Decor. And of course, there's the Garden Shop. On Instagram, it's Garden Shop at Laura Clare Design, LC Garden Shop. I forgot. But if you want to come find us in person, which we encourage you to do anytime, we are 49 US 202 in Far Hills, but the best place to go is to park in the Far Hills train station. Can't miss it. There's a giant peony on the building, drawing a mural. But the Garden Shop is always open for people. You can always walk into the floral studio to get fabulous flowers, and of course, make an appointment with us to talk about fun stuff like weddings and events and all that good stuff. So
amazing. Well, thank you for having us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Honored. Really.
Was there anything that we didn't touch on, or you want to promote, or you want to get into?
Ask? I don't know. No, I think we just encourage people to find us. That we moved from Bernardsville. I think we've been struggling in the sense that people didn't necessarily know we moved. They're like, oh, she's not there anymore. She closed up. She retired. She didn't. So I'm down here now. People should come and just rediscover good flowers.
Definitely.
So.
And do you have any advice for an aspiring entrepreneur?
Ooh, yeah, follow your heart. And again, I think it's always going to be work no matter what you do. So you might as well make your life enjoyable and do something you're really passionate about. Take a hobby and, run with it. And then, I mean, you just have to be smart about your money and stuff. But I don't think some of these high-end executives are necessarily happy with, I mean, maybe they're getting compensated well and they love money, but like really, I mean, are you happy with yourself in what you do? So you have to follow your heart.
That's great advice.
I know. It's true. It's really true.
Yeah.
Is that we like to ask, just to end off, do you recommend anyone that would be cool for us to talk to share their story, whether it's in your industry or another industry or just any random person that owns a business that you...
Oh my God, I've got lots of people.
Lots of I was going to say, if you can't think of anything right now, you could always let us know after. But.
Yes. Well, let's see. A couple that you should know. Lupa Apothecary in Chester.
Oh, yeah. I've met her before.
Yeah, she's really
she's
interesting.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and I love her concept in her shop. I think that's really great.
Yeah, she moved to Chester, I think,
She just
right?
moved to Chester. Yeah, great news store. It's like 3 times as large kind of thing. It's great. There's a great girl down here who does, it's called Shack, Somerset Hills Art Collective.
Oh, okay.
Who does local artists and really promotes them. And I don't know, she just does a great job at that. And that, you should talk to her. I think there's, who else can I tell you about? Let's see. Branch Home, I think, is a nice little store that's down here that I think, you know, she does really great local, like, food and gifts.
Oh,
I think she
cool.
dabbles in flowers and stuff like that, but, like, she gets local stuff.
Okay.
Oh, and then there's, like, the farms, like Maranatha Farms. She's not necessarily open to the public, but she has, like, a very organic style to growing fresh food and scones and like the chickens. I don't know, like the whole story is just fabulous.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh my gosh, I don't know. I got lots of ideas. I'll send you ideas for sure, people.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, well, thanks for having us here. It was cool to check out the new store and talk to you.
Former like driver, like it's just like, you know, trip down memory lane. I told you, people always come back in my life. You know, so it's good to have you back in the studio.
Yeah.
You may never leave again. I'll leave you here.
You might see me here on Thanksgiving Day.
Exactly.
Doing delivery.
All right, I think that wraps things up, right?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.